Hello and welcome to Oakville Matters. Thanks to your TV, this is the opportunity for me and a couple of councillors today to talk about what matters to you in Oakville. And today we're pretty sure that COVID and how we're reopening might be the top of mind for you. And if it is, this is the show for you. And the councillors for you on this show are Councillor Pavan Parmar and Councillor Jasvinder Sandhu, and they are both from Ward 7. Pavan is the councillor for the town and the region of Halton, and Jas is the councillor for the town. And that is our unique heritage way of doing council representation in Oakville. And I hope you like it, because that's really what you moved into. If you didn't grow up, if you grew up here, you like it because you created it. And if you moved here, that's what you moved to. Today, maybe the best news that we have is we're COVID-free, and we have been COVID-free for quite a few days now, right? And our hospital, the only COVID cases we had in our hospital for the last week or so were from other places like Peel or York where they have a problem. And the report I got this morning is even they are gone. So that's the Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital. So with that, we've got to say that stage 3 of reopening must be right around the corner. I think we were predicting that the Premier might announce that next Monday for the following Friday. Anyway, that's my forecast. And my dad, who's a weatherman, always said Burton's first law of forecasting is never make a forecast unless you have to. So, Dad, I'm sorry I broke your rule.
I think that'd be actually the perfect time. Now would be the perfect time to jump into mandatory and what the whole region and each municipality is considering.
Yeah, we were all a little. I can tell you, I was startled yesterday when I read in the and heard on the news that all of the mayors and chairs of the GTAH had agreed that Doug Ford should make mask wearing mandatory. And what really bothered me about that was all of the mayors and chairs of the GTAH did not do any such thing. In fact, they didn't even ask us. Mayor Tory, Mayor Crombie, Mayor Brown, and Mayor Scarpitti, who came out with this big announcement, had not asked anybody in Halton. And I'm pretty sure that if they had, we would have said, why would we want that? We got to COVID-free by using voluntary self-control without having the Premier or anybody else order you to always wear a mask. So why would we need to do that now? And why wouldn't voluntary self-control continue to work? I don't know, have you guys seen my Twitter banner that says, wear a mask to protect others when you can't keep your distance? It won't kill you or anybody else. And that's a summary of what our medical officer of health's guidance is. Mm-hmm. And has that been working? And it's obviously been working in our town, but has it been working for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. I just posted myself last week a similar message that my mask protects you and your mask protects me. So I think that, everyone can keep in mind that those of us with the belief that in the necessity for masks, we're free to wear masks, and we can avoid people who are not covering their nose and mouth when we feel that we can't keep our distance. So I
carry my mask with me everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely have a few in every pocket.
And whenever I am somewhere where people are not keeping their distance, I whip it on immediately. Mm-hmm. And as I go around town, I find that it appears to me to be pretty much true. The medical officer of health has told us throughout these 3 or 4 months that you don't need 100% compliance in order to get the good result. You just need most people to be following it. And on top of that, we started out with low numbers anyway, and we've stayed there at low numbers.
I think you make a really good point though, Rob. Like we need most people to be in compliance, and I really do feel like that's what I've been seeing lately. Mm-hmm. or even just from the outset, I think everybody was very aware and conscious of how to keep themselves safe and how to keep others safe and how to keep their families safe. We're even seeing it at our local grocery stores. I know that you were mentioning this before as well. You know, the couple of places that we go to pretty regularly is Fortino's, not too far from our home. And Fortino's offers hand sanitizer when you first walk in. They were limiting the amount of people that can be in from a family to one initially. I believe they've relaxed that to two now. The Costco, I know we don't have a Costco in Oakville, but the Costco on Vega off of Dundas, they are mandating masks when you walk into the store. So I think that that's helping with these kind of high traffic areas that we know that people are visiting on a regular basis.
And the best thing is you can shop where you feel safe. So
Yeah, absolutely.
find a certain establishment isn't to your standards, and you can shop somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, it was about 3 weeks ago when the province began the reopening process. And I remember very clearly one of the cabinet, I think it was the Minister of Finance, in so many words said, we're shifting from blanket guidance for everybody to individual guidance where, you know, you're responsible for your health. And if you, or maybe the better way to come at it is, we went through these restrictions in the name of winning a race against time to increase our healthcare capacity. And we've added hundreds of beds to our local hospitals. We won the race. On top of that, we flattened the curve. So now there is medical capacity to treat you if you get ill. And that was the big crisis in Milan and New York City and wherever, because they didn't believe, I guess, that it was capable of being serious, and they ran out of capacity. And around the world, we see the same thing. But you know, we won the race. So the guidance became from the province: if you're interested in putting off the day that you deal with the virus, then you can practice the 3 C's of caution, COVID caution. Avoid crowds, avoid confined spaces, and avoid really close contact with people in confined spaces. And the guidance was, you know, if you're passing somebody on the street, the risk is really low and of getting it if you're both unmasked. And if you wear a mask, then your risk is even less, even more greatly reduced. Less, I guess, is the better way to say it. So congratulations to our community. We really achieved a great accomplishment. I mean, we've been COVID-free, I think, for more than a week.
It's fantastic.
And I'm predicting stage 3 should be announced in a week or so. And that will bring the answer that we're getting a lot of, you two and me, we're getting a lot of questions around, well, when will the recreational use of our sports fields happen? Mm-hmm. Jazz, you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been getting a number of questions, I think all over town, quite frankly, about when people can either go kick around a ball or play baseball. So some of our fields are open. I want to say almost close to half are open, a third to a half. And they're open mostly for organized facilities. So, you know, say the soccer club or another organization is running a summer camp, they are able to book the field and run those summer camps. It's not open right now. So baseball diamonds and fields and things like that are not open for, I guess, what I would say like public use. So if you want to go around and you know, book some time and maybe like, you know, kick around or hit the baseball a couple of times with your buddies, that's not available right now. We just, quite frankly, I think that from staff's understanding is we just don't have the capacity for it right now because of those bookings and things like that. Once the rest of the fields are open in stage 3, which we think is going to happen soon, per your point, Rob, I think that we'll be in a much better place. So it's just a little while longer. I think everybody's just kind of getting anxious because the weather's getting better, but it should be soon.
Yeah, and I'm glad you went over that because I think people get confused when they see people on the fields and, you know, they're not taking into consideration that it might be a summer camp or an organized sport that has permission.
Are you getting feedback from residents about how come splash pads are open but the monkey bars are closed?
All the time. all the time. There's a lot of confusion, quite frankly, by a lot of the small families and a lot of the children as well. You can ride by any of the splash pads and parks, Rob, and I think every councillor on council feels like this right now. It's just difficult for staff to continue to go back and put up the caution tape again for all of our parks, but our parks aren't open right now. And I think that everybody should understand that that mandate comes from the province. It's not something that we're making up here at the town. And once the province says that it's safe enough for us to open up the playgrounds, of course we'll open them up.
Yeah, again, I think it's just with the splash pads being inside of the parks and people saying, well, the splash pad is packed, and all it takes is one child climbing up on that structure, which gives the idea to everybody else that, oh, the structure is open too. Next thing you know, there's a parent pulling off the caution tape. And, you know, so I think that it's important for us to continue to remind residents that playground structures are closed. There will be a very big announcement from us when they're open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and actually the people pulling down the caution tape's a perfect illustration of how difficult it is to enforce mandatory rules.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could not have, I'm not saying that well, I will say our taxes are fairly affordable in that the municipal tax burden is the smallest percent of household income in the GTA. But you know, you would not be able to afford the property taxes it would take to be able to have a bylaw enforcement officer guarding every set of monkey bars. In a meeting this morning with regional officials, we were talking about the monkey bars, and I got them all to laugh by saying, yeah, we need to make sure people understand that monkey bars are the business of the premier. And, yeah, thank you. That joke works over and over again.
It's a good one. I might steal it.
Well, since we're talking about parks, I also want to talk about littering.
Yes.
So just a reminder to residents to please pick up after yourselves. Something that's worked for me is we actually take a garbage bag with us. We'll take a small bag with us and we'll bring it back home. Because most of the time the bins, especially on the weekends, they're overflowing. So you don't want to contaminate yourself anyways. But also to the residents that, you know, might be taking a box of pizza to the park to enjoy it, go right ahead. But if you could take the box back home with you and recycle it, that would be great. I mean, our parks are not the place to leave this type of litter. We've actually had a couple of residents in our community come forward and arrange community cleanups. Councillor Sandhu and I just participated in one last night. So a big thank you to all of the Ward 7 residents who have come out during this time to lend their hand, a helping hand to keeping our community clean.
Yeah,
I'm always amazed by the wonderful people who volunteer to go out and organize cleanups in addition to what our staff try to keep up. And but even more amazing is the number of people who think it's okay to just drop stuff wherever they are. Like, what are they thinking?
Yeah, and also just a reminder to everyone who's watching that if you are interested in organizing a cleanup, the town is providing garbage bags, they're providing gloves, and we'll come pick up the garbage bags once you're done the cleanup. So definitely, if you and a group of neighbors want to get together and social distance and clean up, it's always welcome.
Yeah, that's right. So you just call your local councillor, in this particular case, pavan.parmar@oakville.ca and jasvinder.sandhu @oakville.ca, and the bags and gloves will be personally delivered, I imagine. No, they'll arrange it for you anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how are your families coping with the new reality of COVID and school? Jazz, you have a child in school now, don't you?
I do. So I have an elementary schooler, and we also have a child in daycare that we're not sending to daycare right now. Obviously, our daycare was closed for quite some time and is going to be opening soon. The challenge that we've been facing, well, not so more from a school perspective, because school's out for the summer, was just kind of balancing kind of day-to-day life with also having to manage online learning. From a daycare perspective, things have shifted a lot over the last little bit. We've gotten some guidance from the Premier's office that daycares can open up to a certain degree. I know a lot of parents are using the option of sending children to part-time daycare or had been exercising that option in the past. From my understanding, that's no longer available at a lot of daycares. They have to be full-time going forward. And a number of private schools in the area, like Montessori's and things like that, are also only offering full-time spots and positions. It's a challenging time, I think, for parents. I think a lot of people have to make a decision not only from a time perspective, how much time they have to devote to their children at home, but also from a monetary perspective. If they're not able to afford a full-time spot that with a potential increase of price, I think we're going to see some more challenges for families here in town. We have the opportunity and the luxury, quite frankly, to be working for employers that allow us to work from home. I know a lot of folks on council also have that same luxury, and we have that exercise that luxury at council as well. But not everyone has that luxury, and I think that everyone needs to be cognizant of the fact that it's a difficult time right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it
think
is. And don't you find that daycare is one of those topics where there's appear to be a lot of opportunities for improvement? And it's, for me, it's one of those things where I'm kind of glad that we don't have jurisdiction over daycares on the one hand, and on the other hand, I wish we did, because we could do it better. It's one of those push me, pull me kind of decisions.
I was just about to say, I think that there's a few pieces of the puzzle missing, and the province definitely has their work cut out for them, because with reduced spots, increased fees, it's not an equation that's going to work for the average family. And so we need to come up with some, or the province needs to come up with some better solutions, because like you said, it's not in our jurisdiction.
But you know what? We are parents, and we do care about it. And we have voices too. So we don't turn away people who come to us with complaints about things we don't have control of.
Absolutely.
We embrace those problems and try to reflect them up to whoever's the boss of,
sure. And Rob, we've done that in the past with a number of different things. I know recently we sent up a couple of motions from our council meeting up to the Premier's office, or even up to the PM, saying that these are the things that our residents are feeling. So I know that on a pretty regular basis, when we continue to hear these types of conversations come to our doors, we're more than willing to be that advocacy spot for people to feel like their concerns are heard, that we can then take them forward.
Yeah, and it really helps hearing from residents. I didn't know about the whole part-time daycare option not being available. It just happened to be brought to my attention by a resident. So it helps definitely to have that feedback from our residents. And my kids aren't in school yet. They're still small. So splash pads being open is a godsend to us.
Well, you know, they say, I remember, one way to fight the virus is to wash your hands. Presumably you use water and soap. I guess we don't have soap in the splash pads, but we're halfway there.
No, yeah, I'm running with my elbow every time to hit the button and trying to get there before my son, because he wants to hit it and I'm like, let me do it. So I'm using the elbow technique and following all of the safety guidelines that we have posted in our splash pads, and I encourage everyone else to do the same.
Well, your son will be learning to do things with his elbow any day now. Then
actually, when I did it the first time, he said, "Mommy, you're going to use your muscles." I know.
That's cute. That's cute. Rob, I was hoping that you could touch base for us a little bit. We're going to switch gears a little bit to something a little bit more serious. We had an incident in North Oakville a few days ago. I was hoping you could touch base on your comments on hate speech that we saw in town.
Yeah, you know, this puts me in mind of an event that happened a year and a half or so ago in Burlington, where in the night, two individuals, two young men, turned out to be teenagers, spray painted hate graffiti, racially hateful graffiti in Burlington. And our police, I'm very proud of our police. It took a long time. Their faces were covered, but there was something distinctive about one of them, and that was a clue that allowed the police to crack the case and track down and arrest and convict the pair. And on the weekend, we became aware of some racist, hateful graffiti near a mailbox in a part of town on the sort of western side of town. And already the police are on the trail of the 4 young misguided individuals who committed this. And among the things they discovered is not only did they go and do it, but then later they went back to admire it. And so, you know, you're dealing with some young folks who weren't raised by you or me, and some pretty confused
Well,
ideas.
yeah, I mean, I think it's disgusting and shameful behavior. And I think, you know, we need to call this out for what it is, and that's anti-Black racism. And I'm sorry for anyone who saw this, and to the community where this took place. And I think besides a thorough police investigation, which I too believe in our Halton Regional Police Force doing and covering every aspect of this investigation. I think a lot of it is education, and I think a lot of it starts at home, and we need to have the conversations with our kids and even the difficult ones, and education is important now more than ever. We need to act as a community and do everything we can to condemn this hate. So I really did appreciate the statement that you released as well, Rob.
Yeah, I certainly did as well. I think as a person of color, Rob, it's disgusting, to use Councillor Parmar's word, and I think I'll also add deplorable to that.
Yeah.
I think that part of my concern for this is not just from an education piece and the excellent work that the police have been doing, or the fantastic statements that we've been able to issue from the town. I think that my concern is that someone in our community has been left feeling unsafe.
Yeah.
And
You know,
someone in our community, sorry.
It's okay.
Someone in our
That's
community.
exactly right.
Yeah.
You know, there was a family of color living near there, and so there's a possibility that it was intended to make them feel unwelcome or unsafe in our community.
Absolutely.
And I spoke to them. I called and spoke to them and apologized on behalf of the rest of the community at this revolting display of hate. And they assured me back that they had recently moved to Oakville after looking around and deciding that Oakville was the friendliest and most welcoming community, and
So
that they
happy to hear
still
that.
believe that.
So
And
happy to hear that.
it was a very well, it was a moment that I'll treasure to hear a person rise above it, and to say that, you know, they still had faith in our community.
Yeah.
Now, I'm embarrassed by the idea that anybody would go and do this. You know, when I was in high school, three kids my age, when I was 18, when I was finishing high school, 3 kids my age were lynched and you know, in a horrible, you know, they died a horrible death in Mississippi for the sin of being down there helping to register people to vote. So, one Black teenager and 2 white teenagers, and the hate from the Ku Klux Klan types. You know, it wasn't focused only on one race. They were like trying to, I don't know what they were trying to do, but the Mississippi police couldn't find them. The president of the United States sent in the FBI, and oh, guess what? They found them right away. And they did, you know, they did finally get the leaders all got convicted and sent to prison. In fact, one of them just recently died in prison. So, but it was the most, I had never seen, I grew up in a totally integrated community, and I'd never seen this kind of thing. I was shocked to my very core. And I've just been, you know, so dedicated throughout my life to trying to not have racism, to fight against it. I remember in the 80s, I supported Jesse Jackson's run for president, and he gave this amazing speech. There's this one quote in it that I keep with me all the time. He said, "Black, yellow, red, brown, or white, we are all precious in God's sight." And I truly believe that, and I know our community does, except for these four.
Yeah, I think it's been an emotionally overwhelming few weeks for many members in our community. And it's a time for us to stand together and work together and continue to educate one another. And there's a lot of information online with the BLM movement that's gone worldwide. There's so much information that you can tap into and educate yourself and educate your family.
Yeah.
I'm happy you shared that, Rob, because I don't think everyone understands where someone else is coming from, and hearing other people's stories help people relate to potential situations that they might come to. I know I've been, the victim of racism here and abroad, as have many other people of color in our community. I hope this doesn't happen again in Oakville. And I also wanted to touch on the fact that this could be, misguided youth. This could be, for people that thought that it was funny, and they might get away with it because they thought it was silly, and that's maybe why they came back and decided to look at it again. But it's not funny.
No.
And it's criminal. And
Yeah.
I think that that's a signal and a message that all of us have to everyone out there.
I have told the members of parliament from Halton that there's a defect in the hate crimes legislation of Canada, which is that this kind of graffiti actually is almost impossible to prosecute under the hate crimes legislation. It's written for a much bigger level of hate crimes.
I agree.
And I've told them that I'm looking to them to fix that.
Absolutely.
And thank you for prompting that, although I did just use up our last seconds. I want to thank you for tuning in and being with us today. Pavan and Jazz and I are very happy that you take an interest in Oakville, and we look forward to seeing you again.